Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autoblog. With the New York Auto Show being 2 weeks away and Ford unveiling the 2020 Escape this week, I figured why not do a video to discuss the updates that have been made to the vehicle, go over some of the stuff that we do know that it will have and what it's going to be offered with, and check out and see if it's actually going to be a class leader in the crossover segment. Now, ironically, I was filming the 2019 Ford Escape Titanium for a local Ford dealership that I work very closely with. And it was great to actually see the updates that were made in real time. So I could see what will be offered on the 2020 model and also see how outdated the 2019 model really is. And so, without wasting any further time, let's get right into this video. So with the photos and videos that we have received from Ford, and even the videos that we've seen from journalists who were at the event and the unveiling, we can definitely notice that it's been lengthened, it's lowered, and it's wider than its predecessor. And you're definitely going to notice that when you step inside. Looking at the video, there's going to be a lot more legroom for the passengers in the back. There's been some significant updates up front, and if you're a driver, even a passenger up front, you're definitely going to notice some major changes, and I think Ford has moved in the right direction with the Escape. But first, I want to get into the exterior design. It doesn't really look anything like the last generation, which is a good thing because I think that that was a very aged and worn out design. But when you look at it from the front fascia, at first I thought it looked like a Kia mixed with a Ford, but then when you start seeing it from the side angle, from the front fascia to the C-pillar, it reminds me a lot of the Porsche Macan, but like a baby version of that, or something that Porsche would put out if they wanted to have a vehicle below the Macan in the lineup. But I also see some Tesla design as well, which could go really far for the Ford brand. The Escape is built on an all-new platform, a global platform that Ford has really been working with over the last 10 years. It started with the Fusion, the Fiesta, and last generation Escape, and Ford is doing the exact same thing to an all-new generation. Now, this is a way for Ford to sell vehicles in global markets without making major changes to them, which really is a smart business decision on their part. And we're going to notice that with the engines that are being offered this year for the 2020 Escape. It looks sleek, it looks sporty, it doesn't look as boxy as the previous generation. And then when you get around to the back, I wouldn't say they stole designs from Toyota, but you definitely see like some RAV4 in the taillights. But I also see some Lincoln, and what we're going to expect from the Corsair, the new Lincoln Corsair that's going to be unveiled on the same day in New York on April 17th. Now, as major as the changes to the exterior are, what's really more important is the interior and what Ford has done. I seriously didn't expect them to go all out. Now, I understand that when you commit to a full crossover lineup, that, okay, you might as well just go all in on that. But the interior, to me, is what's going to raise a lot of eyebrows and maybe even be the seller and selling point to a lot of consumers here in the United States. Now, when I started getting the photos, I got really excited immediately when I saw that the 12.3-inch digital information display is being offered on the Escape. Now, looking at the graphics and the quality of it from the video, it looks like it is going to be on par with Honda. Now, Toyota is integrating a digital information display as well, but I don't believe it's a 12.3-inch. I don't think it covers the entire instrument panel. So that's something that is going to be noticeable if you are cross-shopping a RAV4 and a new Escape. Now, I really want to see this in person and try it out because I don't want to be overly hyped with it and I don't want to be too excited, but finally, to see a digital information display in the Escape, or actually even in a Ford product, is huge. I mean, I'm very acclimated with the Ford brand and the Ford lineup. I know, working closely with a Ford dealership, and I'm just really, really excited and glad that Ford has finally gone in that direction. Now, with that, you're also going to get an updated 8-inch infotainment system that is no longer integrated into the dashboard, but now looks like something that would come out of Kia, where the screen is a little higher up. It's kind of its own piece. But one thing I will say that is disappointing is when I found out that it's just a Sync 3 system. It's facelifted, but it's only the Sync 3 system. And I was hoping that with the new generation of the Escape that we get a new generation infotainment system. But hopefully that's something that Ford will integrate later on with this new model. Also new, and this is not a big surprise to me, Ford got rid of the gear shift lever on the Escape. It is now a rotary dial, and we saw that with the Ford Edge ST. A lot of that has to do with Ford trying to get more space out of the interior. I understand why they're doing it, but at the same time, I'm not too happy about that because Jaguar had that with their cars, Chrysler did as well, and I really think that the gear shift lever would be better. Just because I'm not a big fan of the rotary dials, but I do see why Ford did do that, just because they wanted to get a little more space, maybe a little more cargo room as well with some compartments. I mean, with the Ford Edge ST, the reason why the rotary dial was implemented was that they had a wireless phone charger. Didn't see that in the Escape, at least in the video or photos, but I'm hoping that is offered for 2020. Also new are the rear seats, which can be adjustable by 6 inches, which to me is actually a really huge improvement. Now let's think about the Ford Escape for a minute. Where is it most likely going to be sold to? Well, most likely probably urban families or people who live in the suburbs. But most importantly, it's going to sell or be made popular with Uber drivers and Lyft drivers. So to have a 6-foot person or 6-foot tall person walk in or get in the back, to have those 6 inches of adjustment is going to give them a more comfortable riding experience. But I think that's even the same can be said on a personal level, where if this is your daily driver, if you have passengers in the back that are going to be 5'10" and above, it's going to be good to have that extra room. And from what Ford says, that when the seats are pushed back, fully back, there's more legroom being offered than in a Chevy Suburban, which I think is really, really impressive. Also, with that being said, when the seats are adjusted forward, you're going to have that 6 extra inches of room for cargo room. So that it really adds a lot of versatility, especially if you're on the go, if you go out, outdoors a lot, or even if you need that extra room for groceries or boxes or whatever you're carrying. Overall, for the interior, I think that the improvements have been really good, and in my opinion, are going to be the selling points for the Escape. Just from the standpoint that you get the digital information display, you get an updated infotainment system, but also the interior is a little bit more upscale, which is something to be very excited about, and I think, to me, is going to be the more important thing about the 2020 Escape. But let's get into the performance numbers and check out what has changed for 2020. And starting with, and this isn't really a major surprise to me, the 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine that gets 250 horsepower and 275 pound-feet of torque will be offered. Same engine as last year. You'll get a 5 horsepower boost from last year, which really isn't anything to write home about. But one thing that is surprising to me is the 1.5-liter EcoBoost 3-cylinder engine that gets 180 horsepower and 177 pound-feet of torque. Now, the reason why it surprises me is that usually we don't get 3-cylinder engines here. That's really a European thing. But again, seeing as though that the Escape is built on a global platform, I guess it makes sense. Now, one thing that this engine does offer is that it can shut down one of the cylinders if you're on the highway or cruising. So essentially, if you are cruising on the road, you're driving a 2-cylinder Escape. And that's really for fuel efficiency and getting a little bit more mileage out of your fuel efficiency. Now, with the new generation, Ford is reintroducing hybrid engine and technology into the Escape. And for this year, we're going to get a 2.5-liter full hybrid with 198 horsepower and, really surprising, an EPA estimated 550-mile range, which Ford claims, that's what they claim. I'm hoping that journalists start testing that out, because that seems pretty high to me. And Ford even says that it exceeds 550 miles. So that's actually really, really impressive. Something that I hope is true, because that's actually really, really good. And then they'll also have a 2.5-liter plug-in hybrid with 209 horsepower, and you get on electric charge about a 30 miles per range, or 30-mile range. So if you really want the more fuel-efficient option, probably going full hybrid is the way to go, especially with the 550-mile range. Now, Ford is mum on this, but there is some speculation and anticipation that Ford is going to have an Escape ST, which would make sense because there's the Edge ST and the Explorer ST, and Ford is really trying to push a performance crossover lineup. So that's something to be excited about. Hopefully they do integrate that into the Ford lineup here in the United States, but again, Ford is being very quiet on that. Also in the works is an off-road variant for the Escape. Now, it should be coming. They're still working on that, but it does make sense, especially when we look at where the automotive industry is right now. A lot of rugged crossovers have been coming out and being unveiled. The Honda Passport is basically a 5-passenger Pilot, but more rugged. So to have an off-road variant of the Escape does make sense, especially where that seems to be a big thing right now in the automotive industry, and consumers seem to be buying those quite a lot. So that really makes sense, but Ford was really concerned at the fact that by lowering the Escape, that they were going to lose some consumers who wanted that off-road capability. So Ford is really just trying to really reach as many consumers as possible, and it makes sense, especially with the Ford Bronco on the horizon. Also new is a drive mode selector for the Escape. Now, we've seen that in the Explorer, but we've never seen that in the Escape. And, you know, for example, you can have a sport mode, a snow and sand mode, and normal mode. For the hybrid, there'll be like electric modes and stuff for that. So I can see why they integrated that for the hybrid versions, but it is really cool to see that on the Escape as well, especially where up in the Northeast, you're going to want those different driving modes to get around during the snow season. Overall, I really like what Ford is doing here. The Escape is really nice. I like what they've done to the exterior. The interior is really, to me, the selling point, though. That's something that I'm actually really excited about. You know, even the digital information display, when you change the driving modes, it shows up. And, you know, it shows up in the graphics. And I think it looks really, really cool and upscale. So, you know, to me, I think for consumers, the interior is going to be the selling point. The fact that you can get 6 extra inches of room from the seats by pushing them back or forward, that's huge. I think that's more important than the exterior. But to have a Porsche, Tesla, Kia look to it, I think is actually going to make a really significant difference in terms of sales. They desperately needed that. The old Escape was very outdated, and you know, to have that sleek and sporty look is certainly the way to go moving forward. So guys, let me know what you think. Is the 2020 Escape the game changer in the crossover segment? Can it outcompete the Toyota RAV4, the Honda CR-V, and the Nissan Rogue, which all outsold the Escape last year? And is Ford moving in the right direction? You know, we were all concerned about them going full out on the crossovers, but seeing what they have come up with the Explorer and even the Escape now, it seems like it's been the right decision, and they're ready to take on legitimate and tough contenders from Toyota, Nissan, and Honda. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.